What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Hope you're doing well today, and welcome to another Baja Brawl. But not another in the sense of it's getting repetitive at this point. Another is in every time Hurren goes through the effort of revamping and re-releasing this track, it gets better and better. So if no one was familiar, if you're newish to the game in the last year or two, you won't know the very, very first custom track that Hurren ever made for MX Bikes was Baja Brawl. It was very simple, but it was a track that everyone really enjoyed. Before we had all of the aerial rounds, replica rounds week in and week out, Baja was a staple of the outdoor series that we used to do. Then he came along a year later or so, updated it, and it was a slightly kind of wet, overcasty version of it. And now we fast forward to present day, we have a brand new, revamped one. You see there's some slight bits of damp here and there, and I'll be interested to see when we're on track if he's changed it so they do slide a little bit more. But for the most part, it's nice and dry. It's nice and bright. The attention to detail, like all of these tyre tracks and such, look incredible. And it's not even like it's actually raised again. It's just completely flat. But he's done a very, very good job with the texturing around here. And I mean this in the most endearing way possible. Hurren is a bit of a Baja slut. And that's not an insult. In the way that I'm a slut for pizza, Hurren is a slut for Baja. Seems to be quite a personal one for him. It seems like he goes there fairly often in real life. So who better to try and get it in game for us as well? And this track is completely free as well, which I'm sure that you'll be really, really happy about. It's not that often that we will get tracks of this level of detail going up on MXB mods. They're usually reserved for the shop side of things. So I'm really excited to give this a go. I have very high expectations of this. There's some very interesting pictures dotted around here and there. I need to try and find, was it on this side of it? It was on this side. So you can see we got a whole bunch of personal pictures here of Hurren and the gang in real life. So it's very, very personal for him. So it should be really good fun. I'm excited to do it. Got a little bit of AC love over here as well, which is quite cool. So we'll spin some laps and we shall see how it rides. I'm hoping for a very, very fun time. And if you wanted to talk about level to detail, the boy has gone as far as putting his own bike in the track, in-game, which is very, very cool, having an entire bike model sat there as well. I imagine we could probably ride around here for ages and go, like, Easter egg hunting, a whole bunch of, I didn't even know Hurren had merchandise. There you go. You can go and get yourself some Hurren Visuals merchandise if you want to. Just having a little ride around in the pits here before I go out on the main track itself. I did see in pictures that he had posted, I don't know where exactly on the track it's located, but if you're unfamiliar with Hurren and his tracks, he always puts a little bit of a nod to his dog Max, who passed away. It's really, really sweet. I love seeing stuff like that, little personal touches. So yes, rest in peace, Max, up in little doggy heaven. I'm much more of a dog enjoyer than a cat enjoyer, although don't tell Mrs. Linz that. She would not be very happy. I'm sure there will be a cat in this household at some point in the future. And let's see how this rides. When I was flying around in the like little free roam camera before starting playing, I noticed there's a lot of ruts on this track this time round, like right here, that intersect, kind of go inside to outside or outside to inside, which I don't think is something that he's done on a Baja before. So I'm intrigued to see how they ride. The wet bits still feel like normal soft soil. So his last version of this, where it was slightly overcast and a little bit wet, the extra shiny parts on the ground, he made sand traction. So the normal part was soft soil, so plenty of grip, and then the wetter parts he made to be sand, so it was a little bit slipperier without being like too ridiculously slippy and without having to run like the rain setting in-game. So a really cool level of detail there. This time though, it seems like we've been treated to just pure soft soil, so you should be able to set some absolute burners. All of the jump faces right now, they feels like he's built them up a little bit. So they boot you a bit higher than normal. Jump down here, be very, very careful. My goodness. Nice deep ruts coming out of this corner. I do like myself some rutted tracks. This could even be some decent practice for the MX Bikes and Nations race happening on Saturday, because I imagine, based off the real-life track at Matterley, how it rode, I'm hoping that it's going to be really rutty in-game as well. So it's good to get some rut practice. And I'm guessing the base of Baja is quite loamy in general, because instead of having like braking bumps as such, we've got, it's more like a rollery effect that he's gone for. So it doesn't upset the bike loads. You just have to know how to ride it, really. You got to stay nice and light, keep the bike kind of skimming across the top of it all. And if you are, oh, let's get locked in there. If you are techie enough, then you can kind of like double your way around some of the corners as well. This inside roller, that's the biggest that inside roller's ever been. Try and scrub that. Oh, he's been very generous, actually. That little straight after that big roller is usually really brutal with the braking bumps, and you'll land in some of them bumps and just get absolutely wadded. So it seems like you can get away with quite a lot here and send it. So whilst it's increased level of detail. I mean, the on-track, I think, is the best it's ever looked, and the off-track looks really, really pretty as well. He's mellowed it out a little bit, I think, so it's definitely a bit easier than the last version of it was. The easiest version will always be the first one. The first Baja Brawl is so wide open, it's unreal. I don't know if... That was my bad. I don't know if, as we've had different OEM packs and different game updates through the years, if different bikes will use different amounts of fuel. So if we take like the KTM 450 from 3-4 years ago, if that uses the same amount of fuel as the KTM 450 now, I don't know. I remember specifically, whenever we would race on the original Baja Brawl, we would have to crank our fuel right up because it was so fast and wide open. Even on a 450, you'd be on the throttle absolutely everywhere. And I remember, I think it was like 9.5 litres that you had to run back then. And bearing in mind that for most of the 30-minute plus 2 laps outdoor tracks that we do nowadays, I only run, I think it's 7.5 litres of fuel, so a hell of a lot less. It does, the Baja is definitely wide open, it's very, very quick, and I'm excited that I done a public lobby stream last night as this track came out, and everybody was like, go and play it. Haven't just released a new Baja. I was like, I can't, I want to save it for a video for tomorrow. And selfish or not, I feel like you do have to save certain tracks for video content, because Hurren's just, I don't know, it's just one of them, isn't it? He's kind of GOAT status at this point, Hall of Fame level. We've got a few people like that in this community when it comes to track building, and he's just very, very good at what he does. A skill that he has honed over many years, and it's good to see him taking places. It's good to see it take him places in real life as well. I mean, I've seen tough blocks in real life with Hurren's logo on it, so he's quite involved in that regards. He was helping out a lot for the Mad Skills Motocross Chasing the Dream game, which unfortunately I don't know the future projection of it, so I'm not going to try and speculate too much. As of right now, I guess the plug has been pulled on that from a funding perspective, so that is not going to be the game that we expected. Whether Hurren will still be involved in that moving forwards as the OG creators carry on working on it, I have no idea. But that just him being involved in a project like that had me really excited for that game, because then you know that the game's going to come with really good quality tracks and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's very, very sad that happened. But we now get to use his talents more so over here, which is also very, very good. Now, I keep stuck at the front end, which I really apologise for. It's my first laps on the game of the day, and I need to get some more practice in. When I started up the live stream last night, I had 14 hours in the last 2 weeks, and for most people that's probably quite normal, but for me, I usually put in about 40, I'd say between 40 and 60 every 2 weeks, depending on how many live streams I do. And I suppose as well, when you have nights where there's aerial races, then that can be a lot more. Your game will be open for like 4 hours at a time for aerial races. Remember back when I was doing EU and NA before Region Lock became a thing, yeah, I'd have days where my game would be on for like 8 hours straight, and most of the time it's not even playing it, it's just sitting there waiting for your turn essentially. But yeah, the hours have been slacking recently, so I'm going to try and bump them up a little bit and try and do my bit to prepare as much as I can for this this Nations race on Saturday, because I don't want to be the reason that the Great Britain team doesn't do amazing. If they don't do amazing, I want to kind of do my bit and get as good of a result as humanly possible. I had a really nice time away at Nations. I just thoroughly enjoyed watching the racing. I didn't get out on the sesh. I didn't go crazy with it each night, because I'll be honest, I'm getting old at this point, boys. I was in bed by midnight both nights, slapped some earplugs in my ears, dozed away, got a good 6 to 7 hours sleep both nights, and I was ready to enjoy the day, enjoy the racing. I met some very, very nice people from all walks of life as well, which is the more, I guess, interesting part for me. Is it's all cool going to like Fox Hills, for example, which is just a predominantly UK based thing, and having a bunch of UK guys coming up and saying hello. When you go to an event like Nations and you get a German come and say hello, you get a Swedish come and say hello, you get a Brazilian come and say hello, and then on top of that getting some UK guys saying hello, it's just really nice. It's really, really cool, and seeing people from all different walks of life. One thing that was quite funny as well is I saw Snap there. If no one knows who Snap is, he is basically like the other half of Perboso. He does help make the game itself, and he's from the UK, and I said hello to him on, I think it was was it Friday night? I think it was Friday night, and that's when one of the Swedish guys came over and said hello as well, and it's just kind of like, you can see how the game that you've created brings people of all walks of life together with just one common interest, and I just think it's really, really cool. I love it, and I'm hoping that the game will progress in a good direction over the next year or so. It's just little things, you know, like the server stability is hopefully like servers not crashing, hopefully trying to fix that bug where people leave and rejoin on a different bike, causing people to spawn inside each other, gets a little bit annoying after a while, especially if you try and host in public lobbies, and it's one of the things you have to try and ingrain into people to not leave and rejoin, because it messes up other people's races as well, because they can get a glitch where their screen's like constantly flickering if someone else leaves and rejoins. Yesterday was a very interesting one. So I've seen where riders are like inside each other before at the same time, but yesterday was the first time I've seen it where riders are on top of each other. It was literally like someone sat on someone else's shoulders while he was riding, which it did look quite funny. But it's one of those things where if you want to make the game as good as it can be and take it to like a professional sense where it's as polished as possible, you can't really be having things like that happen. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for stuff moving forwards. I imagine there's probably going to be a few off-season series over the next couple of months going up to the new year before Supercross all starts again. So I'll be keeping my eye out for that stuff. Then obviously we've got WSX and Australian Supercross as well, which will be quite fun. I'll have to see, timescale-wise, what things are saying, because I don't want to be staying up until like 3 AM to just do some MX Bikes races. I think my time doing that is long gone at this point. I'm at a stage now where I've actually, because of Nations, I've kind of fixed my sleeping pattern. I went to bed midnight both nights. I went to sleep at midnight last night as well, and had a good, you know, like 8-9 hours, and woke up nice and fresh today. We'll see how long that lasts. It probably won't last very, very long. And the Brazilian guy that I met at Nations as well, his dad is the manager of Team Brazil, which is quite cool. It's nice seeing Enzo Lopes riding in person. But he said, basically, why don't we come and do something like the CBMX series, so the Brazilian races. And it's like, I don't know what time of day that would be. I have a feeling it's going to be very, very early hours of the morning. And even then, it's kind of, do I want to play with everyone else being on essentially 300 ping on my screen? I imagine that could be very infuriating having the netcode like that. Obviously their connections are all fine, it's just me the one that's lagging. On my screen, it will be everybody that's lagging, which could be quite painful. But he was really, really nice, and I do like talking to people. It helps me in a way as well, because I'm not the most social of people by any means. Can be a little bit awkward sometimes or run out of things to say. It's one of them where if you force yourself to do it enough, then you get better and better at it. So really good all round. And I even showed face to some important FXR guys as well. So that was good. Trying to build some sort of a relationship there. I've got the road for this set to 0.8. I'm on lap 7 right now, and I see basically nothing. I've taken very similar lines each lap, like this inside here, for example. I think it will just be quite OP compared to the other ones, at least on the 450, where you can get a bit of speed going on the straight afterwards. So I don't think this track's going to get particularly brutal as the road kicks in. Maybe if you then have a full lobby, that will change, but if you've got a handful, I mean, actually, you can see the rut there forming on the downside of that. If you've got only a handful of people in a server, then no, I imagine it probably wouldn't get too beat up, which is absolutely fine. It's yeah, not every single track has to get disgustingly brutal. I'm guessing he's gone through the effort of doing like some custom soil thicknesses to achieve that. I have no idea how to go about doing stuff like that. I usually just leave it on stock and let it run from there. You cross over, there you go. That rut there kind of starts out wide, cuts back to the inside. This section is a little bit one-lined, but it always has been, just where it's a quick right and then back to a left. Love that inside there. Over this bad boy. I think there's a video online, I'm talking years and years old at this point, of someone absolutely just rowling, but I want to say it's a 250F, but they went around that finish corner and they did not shut off the throttle at all, just wide open, banging it off the limit the whole way around it, and it was very, very impressive. I couldn't imagine getting to a point of being that comfortable on a bike. Speaking of which, seeing old Mr. Jetson Lawrence riding in person was something very, very special. I said to, I think it was BP, whilst we was there, as Jet comes around the track, it's just interesting comparing like Jet's riding style to like Tomac's, for example. They're both very, very similar in terms of speed, but they could not be more different. The corner that I was sat on race day was after they hit the uphill quad, they turn right, go through them rollers, turn left into the little split section, and then the right-hander after that is where I was, and we could see basically the entirety of the track. But as they came around that corner, the ruts on that corner were getting quite deep and choppy as well. and you'd see Tomac would come through, just typical Tomac style, bulldogging his way through, just hitting every single bump, just banging the bike off the limit, and even in the air, the jump afterwards. He'd go over it sometimes and just not shut off from takeoff to landing, just go wah, 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 wah. It's actually, it sounded sick. And then you'll see Jet come around in exactly the same corner, in exactly the same rut, and it's just pinpoint perfect. It almost sounds like he's not revving the bike, he's just riding it in low RPMs everywhere, to the point where it almost looks like he's going slow. Obviously, we know he's not going slow, because he almost won the whole thing, but it was very, very special to watch. Like poetry in motion, that's kind of them things that you aspire to end up like. It's quite a sad comparison, but obviously I'll never be able to do that sort of thing in real life, so all I can do is try and equate it kind of to in-game. Is I consider myself a very, very smooth rider in-game compared to others. Some people you'll see coming into corners just absolutely destroying a berm, just revving really hard everywhere. And I always try and be a bit more gentle, just really slowly turn and lean my way into corners, exit smoothly out again. I'll short shift quite a lot to keep the bike tracking in the right direction. It's probably why I do alright in enduro-y or wet track scenarios, because the bike will just handle so much better if you're not trying to abuse it too much. And I honestly think it's the best way to go, just in terms of consistency, because if you go for like a Tomac approach in-game, you will get those hot laps, but I don't know if it will be as consistent for you, especially when a road comes in on these tracks. The tracks just change up so much. Hell gamer moment from me. The tracks change up so much. I swear that step up might be a little bit smaller than it has been on previous tracks. Usually, especially on the first one, you have to really stretch that out. Either that, or we've just got such fast 450s these days that it just makes it up and over no problem. Oh, over there. Ooh. Are you guys thinking what I'm thinking? Do you reckon you can jump off that single and downside that inside roller? Linda's brain's working. Bear with me. We'll try it. We'll see what we can do. Let me set a marker here on the landing just so I can give it 1 or 2 attempts. Around to the left on the downside of this nicely. You can scumbag that and lowline it a little bit on the right. So send that. I imagine you might have to... Oh, go on, stretch it. Oh, that was close. That was close. I don't know if I need to send the single before it to compress the suspension to then rebound off of it, or if I need to check up on the single before it to get as much forwards momentum as possible. So it's like you take off this, and then what if I check up? He's done a good job, to be fair. There's a couple of acceleration bumps up the face, or braking bumps, either or, going up the face of the single, and they kind of take the compression out of your suspension, so you can't get a full preload there. So whether that was intentional and he knew that could be a possibility or not, I don't know. But I think he might have just done enough. I'm sure if he was to try and run hot laps around here for like 30 minutes and just keep going over and over and over again, you might be able to get away with it, like in a not lucky, you know, just hitting it perfectly, but accidentally. I don't think that's something you can do consistently over and over again. But the track, really, really fun, very flowy, and quite straightforward. So it's definitely easier than the last Baja that he made. I suppose then it makes it so it's available to all skill levels. So if you're newer to the game, you can probably ride around this track no problem at all without much difficulty. So thank you very much, Haran, and thank you for making it free as well. It's not meant to be like a dig or anything at paid tracks, but I know the general community, they get fed up with, like myself especially, they get fed up with of just doing videos on paid tracks over and over again. But I truly believe that they hold the best quality a lot of the time. So having something this good that is also free, big W, very, very pleased. So I hope you've all enjoyed, and let me know if you've been enjoying this track as well. I think Haran's done a very, very nice job. I apologise if there's anything that I've missed. As I say, there's probably a whole bunch of Easter eggs laying around here and just little bits of detail that I wasn't able to cover in this video, but that's the fun of it. You now get to go and explore it yourself and see what you can find, and then let me know in the comments down below. So if you enjoyed, please do drop a like. It's very much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and have a lovely rest of the day. And whatever it is you're up to, I hope it's good. Keep safe, keep well. Catch you in the next video. Peace. And I just hit it when I was meant to sign out the video. Goodbye. You can get that bit at the end.
Lynn's in the zone, never backing down. Riding MX bikes, he's the talk of the town. 2022 champ with a YouTube crown. His game is tight, no signs of slowing down. Late nights, bright lights, he's chasing that fame in the digital arena. Writing his name, she's a 10 out of 10. Supporting his lane, hairline might receive, but his passion's the same.